Hello, and thanks for joining today for today's Connect video. As we've been doing these now for too long, right? Hope you had a good Mother's Day celebrating your mom or the mom of your children, and just want to welcome you to the Connect video for today. Today is Tuesday, May 12th, and the topic we're going to talk about today is bad things. Bad things. But before we get into that, just a couple of items in regard to some church news and stuff like that. First, your videos or pictures that we're using in the online services as a time of greeting. If you haven't sent one of those in yet, please send it in. We would love to see you. It's so cool just to see Bill Updike. He's in Iraq, and we're getting a picture from him, a video from him. So that was wonderful. And please make sure, if you haven't done it yet, send it in. Some of you, I know a lot of people receive these videos because many of you are forwarding these to family and friends around the country. You don't have to be a member of our church to send in one of those pictures or videos. It'd be kind of cool just to send it in and say, hey, I'm being blessed by your ministry. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome. And that kind of thing. That'd be kind of cool too. So, but especially if you're a part of our church, send in a video greeting or a picture that we can just use in that. So keep doing that. alions@cdobaptist.org. alions@cdobaptist.org. Make sure you send it in. There's the email right there. Send it in. All right. Let's see. Achievement Sunday. Whether you're a high school or college graduate, or if you've recently retired in the last year or so, let the office know. And we want to recognize that. It's a great achievement in your life, and we want to recognize that. So make sure you let us know ASAP. We might be doing that this coming Sunday in the online service. If not this Sunday, possibly on the 24th, which would be another online service likely. So make sure you let us know so we can get the information and include you in the Achievement Sunday focus. And also reopening plans. Oh, I'm so eager for this, but we'll be sending out, I think by the end of the week, we'll send out what the plan is as far as what Sunday will look like. In Friday's video, I'd let you know, hey, it's going to be different than what it was prior to all this. There's a new normal now, at least a temporary new normal. I don't know how long this will last. We'll see what happens, and we're going to be responsible and try and make sure we have a good witness for Christ in this whole process. But we'll get out some information at the end of this week. We're waiting for Governor Ducey, to talk a little bit. Probably Wednesday is probably when he'll have his press conference. The latest, maybe Thursday. His stay-at-home order is set to expire on Friday. Let's see. This past Friday, you could have gotten a haircut, and yesterday you could have gone out to eat possibly. So things are slowly opening up, and we'll have get some plans out to what that will kind of look like. So today's quick focus: bad things. Two aspects of bad things. The first one is kind of why do they happen, or why does God allow them to happen? And the second thing is how should we as Christians respond and react to bad things in our life. And when I think of bad things, obviously we can look at Jesus and the bad things that happened to him. There is nobody who experienced more bad things, especially on the scale of justice. Someone who didn't deserve any bad things, and the worst bad thing happened to him. The worst injustice possible happened to him, right? He suffered unfairly and unjustly for us. So no one reaches the level of experiencing bad things like Jesus did. But for the discussion here, I want to look at some of the Old Testament saints, because I think in some ways we can relate to them a little bit better, because we're not the Messiah and the Son of God. When you look at the Old Testament saints, so many of them suffer. Almost all of them suffered some really bad things, some difficult things in life. So First, why did they happen? Why did bad things happen? Well, I think sometimes it's a result of sin, our own sin, their sin. There were things that happened that the bad things were a result of what they did or did not do. Secondly, often it's simply a result of being in a sinful world, a fallen world, the natural consequences of sin. People lie and people get hurt because of it, and so on and so on. There's things, natural disasters, disease and illness and so on that are just a natural result, a normal part of what life in a fallen world is about. So that's one of the reasons that we're not immune to that. Just because we're Christians doesn't mean we're immune to those things. This is our temporary world right now. We're citizens of heaven, but also we have a dual citizenship right now. We have a citizenship here on earth also. And sometimes it's a result of someone else's sin or deception. Right? And we see that God allowed bad things to happen to someone, many times to improve them, to shape them, to mold them, to prepare them, to kind of, as a sculptor will chisel off pieces of the block of marble to get to where the image that he wants or she wants, right? God does the same thing to us through bad things. He also uses good things for that, but we tend to notice the bad things a whole lot more. I think of Joseph in the Old Testament, his brothers selling him to be a slave. He eventually ends up in Egypt, in jail, imprisoned falsely, and so on. Why? There's years that go by, 13 if I remember correctly, from when he arrives to Egypt to where he gets out of jail and starts to escalate, if you will, to a place of prominence. Years. Why? Why did God take so long? Why did God allow him to go through that process? Well, I think there was a lot that had to be formed in him and shaped in him and chiseled away. We're not told all the details. My assumption has always been that he was kind of an arrogant kid. Not sure. It'll be an interesting discussion in heaven of of why he thinks God did that. But he ended up using Joseph in a way that allowed him to enter into Egyptian life fully as a leader of the country, second only to Pharaoh, and he saves the world from a devastating famine. I think God shaped him in those years for that task. I think of Paul. He talks about the thorn in the flesh that he prayed 3 times for God to remove, and God said, "Nope, sorry. I'm going to keep that in you, Paul, to keep you from being conceited," he says. There's a purpose to the bad thing. There are times that God allows bad things for his purposes, his good purposes in our life. His purposes often have a much bigger picture than our simple life. Right? Go back to Joseph, Genesis 50, verse 20, and Joseph talking to his brothers about the bad thing they did to him. He says, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today." God has a purpose, always with all things, even bad things. How should we respond as Christians to the bad things in life? I think, first of all, let's be real with them. I think we should respond with realism, with a very genuine response. Genuine faith. No need to paste on a smile and kind of put forth just a good appearance for everybody. Be real. Be honest. If you're struggling with it, it's okay to admit you're struggling with it. That's in fact a good thing, to wrestle with that and to talk about it, because the reality is most people struggle with it, and they need to understand how do we struggle through it. So don't just paste a smile on and think everything's okay and rosy. It's okay to say, "Hey, I'm struggling. I'm trying to figure this thing out." Cling to God's promises through the process. In Philippians 1, Paul writes, "He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ." God's at work and he's doing something, and so just be faithful and trust him. We should also have joy, James says. In James 1 verse 2, "Count it all joy, brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, right? And then James goes on in the next couple verses to share what God is doing in you and through you through those difficulties, those trials, those bad things. There's a purpose to it all the time. We may not like the bad things. In fact, it'd be kind of weird if we did like the bad things, right? Because they're bad. They're bad things. So it's not that we enjoy them, but recognize they are doing good in you, through you. You may not know what that is even. God's goodness may be beyond you. But just know that we should trust Him always and be faithful to Him. He's aware of it. He's not unaware. These things don't catch Him by surprise. He knows exactly what's going on. He Himself suffered the greatest unjust realities. He suffered the greatest bad things ever. He understands. As the writer of Hebrews says, He's a compassionate and faithful high priest for us. He knows us, what we've experienced. So you can trust Him in it. So I pray in the midst of this time where there's some bad things that going on, have a bigger view. Have a view that's informed by what God is doing. And you may not know what He's doing, but He is doing something. I guess that's the takeaway. So I trust that's a little bit of encouragement to you this week as we kind of are in the beginning part of this week. And be in prayer for us, please, as we come up with the plans and details as we look towards reopening very soon. And let me pray for you, okay? Father, help us as we have another week before us. I pray that we would trust You in all things, even when there's bad things going on, that we would trust You and be confident that You are doing something in that. Something in those things and something in and through us. So use us as You will, for Your good and Your glory. It's in Christ's name that we pray. Amen. Well, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll see you here on Friday. Bye-bye.